Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. It's been a minute, I know, but as you can probably see, a lot of changes have happened recently. I am now back home from college, as a lot of people are, and I have a whole new background now, so I'm very happy to have that up. But today I want to talk about probably the biggest news in the NBA in quite a while. As we all know, the NBA is on hiatus. So Adrian Wojnarowski has tweeted out saying that the Chicago Bulls have officially began their formal search for a new president of basketball operations. And that is the happiest news for a Bulls fan in quite a long time. As some of you may know, the Bulls have been calling for John Paxson, the vice president of basketball operations, and Gar Forman, the general manager for the Chicago Bulls, jobs for a very long time now. And John Paxson has basically been part of the basketball decision-making processes for the Bulls for about since 2003, and that's a very, very long time. And his track record isn't fantastic. And Gar Forman came, I believe, in 2009, and his track record is also not very fantastic. And as you know, the Bulls are now currently in year 3 of a rebuild, but we have gotten nowhere. So this is probably the best news that any Bulls fan can hear as of today, because this Bulls team was literally going nowhere unless changes were going to be made in the front office, because all the free agents know that, yes, Chicago's a big market city, but hey, we have to deal with John Paxson and Gar Forman, who are not the best executives in the NBA, and we don't want to go to Chicago Bulls and play for them because John Paxson and Gar Forman are in charge, not to mention Jim Boylen's also head coach. So what I want to do is break this down of what I want to have happen, what I think is actually going to happen, and who I think is actually going to come in as the new basketball executive for the Chicago Bulls. So as you can see on this tweet I have up on the screen, Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN has said that Michael Reinsdorf has officially decided to look for a new head executive for the Chicago Bulls. However, what we've also seen from Adrian Wojnarowski is that he has said that John Paxson, who is currently the vice president, he is going to be moving to an advisory type role. Now, when I hear this, we've already kind of know this is going to probably happen if there were going to be changes to the Bulls front office, which looks like it is now. But we all kind of knew that John Paxson was going to stay with the Chicago Bulls somehow. That's because Michael Reinsdorf and Jerry Reinsdorf, they love John Paxson so much. And unfortunately, while I would like John Paxson to be completely gone from the Chicago Bulls, I take what I can get, and he's going to be moving to an advisory type role, kind of like what Doug Collins is right now for the Chicago Bulls. And now the other thing that Wojnarowski said is that Gar Forman's job is going to be kind of up in the air. We don't have affirmative closure of what his job is going to be after or once this new executive comes in. But a lot of Bulls are already expecting for Gar Forman to be moved to the head of the scouting department, and this is where I get upset with Michael Reinsdorf, actually, who's leading this new executive search, is that he has said that there's going to be a major overhaul to the Bulls front office. But he's keeping the two guys that he's basically getting rid of their positions, but he's keeping both of them. So that doesn't make me very happy at all. However, I take what I can get. And the fact that we're going to have a new executive making all the basketball decisions and going to be at the very top of the decision making, that's what I care most about. However, I'm not happy that Gar Forman is going to be leading the scouting department, because while the Bulls over the past couple of seasons, they've drafted pretty okay, but they've drafted okay with the assets they were given. I mean, the 7th overall pick 3 years in a row. You got Markkanen, Wendell Carter Jr., and Kobe White. While that's not bad, it's obviously not amazing. For example, Donovan Mitchell went after Lauri Markkanen, and Donovan Mitchell's already an all-star. So it's kind of tough when you hear that Gar Forman's probably going to be the head of the scouting department, but the main thing is that I don't want Gar Forman in any of the basketball decision-making whatsoever for the Bulls, because he's the one that brought on Fred Hoiberg, because his wife is also friends with Hoiberg's wife. So, of course, connections. Hoiberg was an absolute mistake. John Paxson and Doug Collins were the ones to bring on Jim Boylen, who I'll get into in a sec here, but with John Paxson and Jim Boylen, that was also a mistake. I think Doug Collins was more just against what Hoiberg was doing. And I like Doug Collins, so hopefully Bulls will keep Doug Collins in his advisory role as well. But John Paxson, over the years, I've always said this with Gar Pax, their drafting hasn't actually been that bad. I mean, considering they drafted Jimmy Butler, they drafted Taj Gibson. Not to mention, back in 2003, Paxson was part of drafting Kirk Heinrich, even though it was after D Wade initially. So it's kind of tough to be like, oh, their drafting is really bad. However, what really makes their track record look absolutely atrocious is the decision making that they made with trades. For example, Luol Deng was traded for $3.5 million, and people don't remember that. He was basically traded for Jordan Bell, who the Bulls then traded for $3.5 million. That itself is, Luol Deng at the time was a two-time All-Star and one of the best defenders in the league and the most consistent players in the league. So that, trading him, who was Bulls loved Luol Deng for $3.5 million, does not look very good. And that itself, if just that one move should already put an executive on the hot seat. But Ryan Swift didn't do that. Most recent one I always talk about is that the Bulls traded basically Gary Harris and Jusuf Nurkic, the 15th and 20th picks in this very same draft, for Doug McDermott, who was the 11th pick. At the time, I was okay with it because it's like the Bulls really needed shooting, and Doug McDermott, we all know, can shoot. Well, we also didn't know that Doug McDermott can literally not defend. However, what the Bulls did after is they traded Doug McDermott, Taj Gibson, who is a very, very good player for the Bulls, and a second-round pick for Cameron Payne, who they labeled as the point guard of the future, Anthony Morrow, who's not in the league, and Joffrey Laverne, who's also not in the league. So you traded Doug McDermott, basically you traded Gary Harris, Jusuf Nurkic, and Taj Gibson, and a second-round pick for nothing. We got literally nothing out of that deal. So it's those types of things, when I look at them, I'm like, these executives don't know what they're doing. And finally, hopefully we'll get a new executive to come in and actually know what they're doing and make the right decisions for this team as they go through year 3 of a rebuild. The names that are being thrown out there right now, Casey Johnston for NBC Sports Chicago has come out and said the initial search is going to be with these guys listed in his tweet. Now, the one name that I'm looking at specifically is Buchanan, because there have already been rumors since February that the Chicago Bulls are looking at Chad Buchanan, the GM for the Indiana Pacers. And to be honest, I really like it. I even sent out a tweet today saying that Chad Buchanan has done a really good job with the Indiana Pacers. If you think about what the Bulls did with Jimmy Butler, that was the same time the Pacers had to trade Paul George. So both teams were basically kind of hitting the reset button on the same offseason. And Jimmy Butler and Paul George at the time were very, very similar players. They're both the main guy on a team, but they're also on. They were not considered to be we can be a contender with these guys. But what Chad Buchanan did is that he traded Paul George to the OKC Thunder and got Victor Oladipo, who's turned into an All-Star, and Domantas Sabonis, who's also turned into an All-Star. So that itself, if you think about it, the Bulls traded Jimmy Butler for Zach LaVine, who's turned into a pretty good player, Lauri Markkanen, who has struggled mightily this season, and also Chris Dunn, who I don't think the Bulls are extending at the moment. And we also traded the 15th overall pick that in that draft that ended up being Justin Patton. So just looking at those two franchises who basically hit the reset button at the exact same time, the Pacers have been in the playoffs already, and the Bulls are nowhere near the playoffs. So I would trust someone like Chad Buchanan to come in and make the right decisions. And if he has to make a tough decision like trading LaVine, he would get really good value back if he ever made such a trade. And his drafting has been pretty much okay. Not to mention that he completely fleeced the Phoenix Suns out of TJ Warren and gave up literally nothing. He went after Jeremy Lamb and Malcolm Brogdon this past offseason. Two very, very good moves. And he was, I believe, part of the Miles Turner draft. But overall, the fact that Buchanan trusts a guy like Nick McMillan, who's done a fantastic job, I would personally like Buchanan to be the new head executive for the Chicago Bulls. I don't know what it's going to take for the Bulls to get Buchanan. Hopefully it's not a lot, but I would personally like that. Now, however, if you're looking at the other people that the Bulls are going to interview, I mean, they're all part of really, really good teams. For example, Adam Simon with the Heat. The Heat are right now a very, very good team. Could be labeled a contender. Not to mention they believe that Jimmy Butler can be the main guy on a contending team. So, obviously, everyone that they're looking at, they're very, very good options. And to be honest, anybody's better than Garpax, so you can't really be mad. My other main concern about this, though, is that Michael Reinsdorf has actually come out and said that he really, really loves Jim Boylen, as basically the entire front office of the Chicago Bulls love Jim Boylen. Jim Boylen is at least one of the top 5 worst coaches, if not the worst coach in the league right now for the NBA. And if you look at the Bulls currently, they have, I believe, only 22 wins. The offense is ranked 29th in the league, and that is atrocious. And last year was better for some odd reason. And this team as a whole, even getting vets like Satoransky and Thaddeus Young, this team has actually gone really nowhere. And it's really unfortunate because, and the reason why is because Jim Boylen decided to change his ways and say, hey, we're going to be shooting threes and layups and foul all the analytics this season. However, what he didn't understand is, one, we don't have the personnel for that. You can't coach a team to do something that they're not. And the Bulls do not have enough good three-point shooters, and they don't have enough good interior finishers for that, and they don't have enough good versatile defenders for that. Zach LaVine's having a career year, but that's because literally the offense is so garbage because of Jim Boylen's terrible offense that Zach LaVine has to do literally everything. Now, Michael Reinsdorf has said that he wants whoever comes in to keep Jim Boylen as head coach, but it won't be a deal breaker. And if anybody that they hire who's on this list comes in, I guarantee you that Jim Boylen's going to be gone. What I'm scared, though, about is that Michael Reinsdorf is going to not hire anybody that's listed initially, including what Adrian Wojnarowski has tweeted out, saying that here are the guys that the Bulls are looking at. If he doesn't hire any of these guys, he might hire some, let's say, agent, like how the Knicks and the Warriors have done and the Lakers have done, that don't have any front office experience, and that's the last thing I want. It's been reported that Michael Reinsdorf does not want that. They want someone with front office experience, but I don't want it to become a point where it's like we don't have any other options here, and we basically already said to Paxson and Foreman, you're gone out of your roles, that we just kind of have to hire whatever is left on the table, and they'll basically agree to anything that Michael Reinsdorf says just to get a job. So if anybody comes in that is listed from on Woj's tweet or what Casey Johnson has tweeted, I have full confidence that they'll fire Boylen immediately as their first move as the new executive of the Chicago Bulls. But the other thing that I want to talk about is that if one of these new people come in and they don't fire Boylen, then that means that they do not have full authority on basketball decisions for the Chicago Bulls. And that's really, really important in my opinion, because that means that Paxson still has a ton of a say in any decision that the Bulls are going to be making. So I'm hoping that it is true with what Woj just said, that the Bulls are going to give full basketball authority to this new executive that comes in. And that means that their first move as the executive needs to be fire Boylen immediately, because he has done absolutely nothing good for this franchise at all. I do not know who is going to be potentially like the general manager. However, what I really would personally like is just someone like Chad Buchanan to just come in and be basically the GM and the vice president of basketball operations. I would love that, because just have one person running basically everything in the front office, because clearly over the past many years, having Paxson and Foreman running things has not worked out very well, and it's even been said that Paxson has taken a step back at times, not really doing much of the decision making and letting Foreman do everything, and their roles kind of switch like every single year. So I personally do not like that. I would rather have just one person running everything and having the advisors give their couple of cents on any big decision-making move. So that's my thoughts really about this amazing news coming out. And I will say, I'm not gonna believe it until I see it. This could easily just be a PR thing for the Bulls and just trying to make their fans happy for, during this hiatus time, and maybe when the season does resume, if it does, they'll probably get more fans coming to the Bulls games, just due to the fact that they said this. But I'm hoping that's not the case. I really hope this isn't a hoax. Of the Bulls just putting this out there, making their fans feel a lot better about the franchise, and then the Bulls really don't do much. So hopefully this is a true thing, that Michael Reinsdorf has started his executive search, and hopefully before the season is over, or very, very soon at least, the Bulls have a new executive of vice president of basketball operations in place, and Jim Boylan's gone as head coach. And what I also like to see is all the assistant coaches who have said to have helped this offense, they're fired, because right now the Bulls are the 29th offense in the league. And also, I would like a new training staff too, because the Bulls have dealt with so many injuries in the past decade. I do not want to see this training staff, as much as I like Jeff Tanaka, but Derrick Rose, with his injuries, that's one thing. But to see Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter Jr. this year deal with their 6-week-long injuries, not to mention Chris Dunn is out for the rest of the season, Otto Porter missed a couple months, that's unacceptable in my opinion. And I think a new training staff also needs to be in play, as well as probably a new scouting staff. So hopefully Michael Reinsdorf, with this new move of getting a new executive, clears out house with every position with the Chicago Bulls in the front office and decision making, besides his advisors, and that includes all coaches, all training staff, and especially hopefully new scouting department. So big news for the NBA really in this hiatus time. But if you like this video, make sure you leave a like on this video. Also, subscribe to my channel if you have not. I hopefully will be posting more. I don't know. We'll see. I have some big plans coming up for this channel. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Duncan_White14. And also leave a comment down below with your thoughts on Michael Reinsdorf saying that he has started a new search for a new executive for the Chicago Bulls.